Hello everyone, and welcome back to the first Duck of the Stars video in quite a few years. I've been sort of on and off on this channel, and I've explained why for many reasons, but to put it simply, I'm back. I'm making videos, or at least I hope I am. This will be the first of a series of videos I hope to create based on topics that I'm more interested in, instead of the all-around crazy topics I created back in the day. As you can see right now, my setup is pretty much non-existent, but I can promise you it only gets better from here. This is going to be my sort of test run video as well, and so I'm hoping that each subsequent video, the quality will improve more and more. Today I'm going to be covering the Nintendo Entertainment System. As this is going to be a series, we're going to get to the subsequent later Nintendo consoles, but we're going to start with the original. We're going to start with the US version. I can promise we'll cover all the Japanese variants if they're different as well. But today we're starting with the tried and true classic for us American and European gamers. So a little bit of a backstory. Video games were sort of popularized in the early 80s with arcade games. Everyone knows these games. Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Mario Brothers, Galaga, Burger Time. The list goes on and on, but there were all these great arcade games, and people realized that they could take sort of the same kind of graphics and bring them on home consoles. Now, home consoles were not nearly as good as arcades, and they never really lived up to arcades for a very long time. This was especially true in the early 80s. In the early 80s, in 1983, in the United States at least, and especially in the United States, video games sort of had a bit of a crash. Nobody was really interested in them because of the poor quality of these ports. And Nintendo, this old trading card company, had just gotten into the video game business, and so they took this opportunity to create their very first console, and this would be the Nintendo Entertainment System. I have one with me right here. It's very bulky, and it looks kind of like a VCR. Now, the reason for this is because people didn't want to play video games anymore, and so what could Nintendo do but actually make it look like a home appliance so that parents could see this and say, oh hey, we know this looks like our VCR, maybe this is okay for our kid to play with. There's also a very low price at the time, which was very important, especially since computers were thousands of dollars each, even back in the day. Now I'm sure if you are a teen, like I am, you're a young adult, you're even a kid, if you didn't grow up with this console, is what I'm saying, I'm sure you've seen stuff about it. Here I have a shirt from when I was a kid of one of the games. Didn't even know what the console was, but I had the shirt. The point is, these games are classics, and pop culture still revolves around this thing so much. The controller is also recognizable to anyone too. Anyone nowadays, under 40, 50, can easily understand this controller right here. This is the classic Nintendo controller. Now, beforehand controllers were a bit wonky. They didn't have a really standardized design. People tried, they put numbers on them, all sorts of crazy things. This is the first controller to have the D-pad, the 4-directional pad right here. And it seems very easy to think about it first. You're like, well, duh, these games, you have 4 directions, up, down, left, right. Why not have one of these? But Nintendo was the first one to actually create a standardized 4-directional pad. And on top of that, they had these very, very loud red buttons. And so it wouldn't be very hard for people to, to understand, oh, this is what we used for actions. It was much like an arcade as well, which was what made it so universally usable. Now, when they initially marketed this, they had to market it as a toy. And because of this, they had to have some peripherals. The first one I don't have is an actual robot, Rob the Robot. He's a character in Super Smash Brothers nowadays. He's not really known for his Nintendo Entertainment System appearance, but he's still iconic for Nintendo fans. This guy is pretty rare nowadays, from what I can tell, but he also isn't maybe the best peripheral you could use. The second one is a lot more iconic, and this would be the NES Zapper. Now, this could come in either orange or gray. It doesn't really matter which one you get, as far as I can tell. There doesn't seem to be any difference in rarity. In my local video game store, they have a bucket full of both gray and orange. NES zappers. This one was orange because US consumers, I guess, I'm pretty sure these are consumers, started complaining about their kids running around with what looked like pretty real guns. And so they changed it just to make it look a little more kid-friendly. And this is a topic you see a lot in the 90s as, you know, video games became a thing. The whole violent video game argument started popping up. And of course, this started after this generation. So we can cover this in my next video. However, this is maybe the very beginnings of that. But essentially what you do is you point it at your screen and you shoot it, and there'd be a frame of or the TV would go black for a second. It would make sure that there's an I think it was an IR sensor, an infrared sensor, that it would try and sense and see what was on the screen. Now, unfortunately, because this is kind of an interesting way to, you know, adapt a light gun, it doesn't work on modern TVs. If you have a flat screen, it's not going to work. You have to have the old box TVs. Those are the CRT TVs. Not many people have those nowadays, so just know that if you're going to get a lot of these games, that you are inevitably going to have to buy a CRT. But let's talk about the games now, because those are quite interesting. There are many of those. You know, some of them can be dirt cheap, some of them are terrible, some of them are still considered some of the best games ever. NES collecting, when you collect these games, still one of the hardest systems to collect for, just because maybe the conditions of all the games aren't nearly as great. You know, it was a new medium at the time. People didn't really understand how to keep them up. But here are some of the best ones I have in my collection. I mostly have, you know, some of the main titles. Unfortunately, I can't get any gameplay tonight. However, I can certainly upload individual game reviews, which I plan to do, because some of these deserve a little more depth, and I'm going to give them right here. Now, the first one I have with me actually has a sleeve. You can pick up some of these. This is an official one, but if you can pick up even unofficial ones of these will help a lot, because this is the cartridge you're going to deal with right here, and this is the first game, Battletoads. This was created by what would later become Rareware, one of Nintendo's best publishers, especially later on in the Nintendo 64, Nintendo GameCube era. But this is one of their first games to beat 'em up. It's one of the few simultaneous multiplayer games that aren't, you know, sports. They aren't very basic games. This is actually a full action adventure game where you're running around as Two-Toes, beating the crap out of everything, and it's a fun time. Now, what I was talking about earlier, actually, since this is a cartridge, you have contacts in here, and that's going to be crucial, because a lot of these contacts don't work anymore because people didn't take enough care of them. So this is Battletoads. The second one I have here, I believe, is Dr. Mario. This is a Tetris clone. Now, Tetris, I don't think needs any introduction. Tetris is, you know, a universally known game, and rightfully so. But this is very much a Tetris-esque game made by Nintendo. It has a pretty nice spin on Tetris as well. It's highly recommended for me. I actually had a lot of trouble getting my hands on this because, yet again, these contacts weren't clean down here. And so if you're a fan of Tetris, definitely pick this game up. Now, my next game, I believe, is going to be Excitebike. Okay, so Excitebike is a game we haven't really seen since the NES, but it's essentially a Nintendo-made, you know, biking game. Or motorbiking game. There's no other real fancy way to put it. But it's quite fun, and you'll notice throughout speedrunning communities that, you know, getting the fastest times on this game is especially important to a lot of these speedrunners. If you're gonna speedrun NES games, this is one you want to pick up. This is gonna be one that is crucial. Now, I believe the next one is also one that you will need to put a lot of time in for speedrunning, and that is Mario Bros. Duck Hunt. I showed you the t-shirt earlier. This is the game for it. Now, this is actually one of the few games that uses the light gun right here, and it's basically ducks flying at the screen. You shoot them all down. Everyone makes jokes about the annoying dog. If you've ever seen, you know, a dog laughing WoW player wasn't doing too well in a game. That's the reference that's from. I know there's still a lot of references made from that guy. And he is also a Smash Bros. Character under the Duck Hunt Dog. And then, of course, there's Super Mario Bros. Now, like Tetris, I don't think this game needs any introduction. It's Mario. It's the 8-bit one with the classic theme song, the classic graphics. You know, it's right there as well. That's what's nice about a lot of these games, actually, is that they didn't have a lot of pictures. They just had the graphics. Like, okay, this is the kind of game you're gonna get. And I actually have 2 versions of that, if I'm correct. There is a standalone Mario Bros. And a standalone Duck Hunt, but I just happen to have the versions that are mixed together. Now this other one I have has what is called World Class Track Meet, and that uses a different peripheral, which I don't have. I can't really give this one a fair review since I've never even played it. But I'd definitely say pick this one up. It's a must-have. You gotta play Mario if you have an NES. Of course, what comes with that is, you know, which Mario do I pick, because you also have Super Mario Bros. 2, Super Mario Bros. 3. I'd say give all 3 a try. If you had to pick one, maybe I'd say 3. You'll get the most out of it. It has the best graphics. It was launched right before the next console came out. Super Mario Bros. 2 is a bit of an oddity, and I'll definitely talk about that in another video, but I'd say pick this one up too, just because it's so strange compared to the other Mario games out there. Now, last on my main, there are plenty more games I could list off. Metroid, Kirby, Kid Icarus. There are lots and lots of games. Last one I have here is another classic. It's another must-have. If you are going to have an NES, it is a crime not to own this game, and that would be The Legend of Zelda. And of course I don't have it, but there's a sequel as well. You can tell this one very easily from the rest. It's one of the few to have a different colored cartridge as the gold cartridge. I don't think it really needs much of an introduction either. It's sort of an adventure game. You know, you're given a sword and you go get out there, go beat the Prince of Darkness. And you know, that's about all it goes for games. I guess the last thing I should talk about is how to set one up. You know, I see a lot of people surprisingly don't know how to set up video game consoles, and especially the older ones, which I guess I don't blame them. But the NES has multiple inputs actually, which is really nice. Now the first one, and what most people are familiar with on the back here, you're going to have your AC adapter ports, and I'm not sure exactly about the specs of the AC adapter. I'm not too good with you know, electric currents and all that. But I'm sure you can find one super cheap. They're widespread. I have a third-party one over here, I think. I'll spare y'all from that one. But here is the first one, the RF switch. Now this is especially if you have one of those old CRT TVs. This is the super, you know, the super old boxy TVs, and what you will get is this right here, and it looks super complicated. I know it does. But essentially all you have right here, this is going to go into your TV. You gotta plug it into the little spot there, and it'll look like this right here. You plug it in, you screw it in, and it'll be good to go. And then this right here goes in the back spot where I said RF switch. So right here, you got this, go in like that. It's simple. Now the second one I have is actually a lot nicer for modern TVs. Excuse the noise right there, but this is what's going to be on both sides right here, and this will be in AV cable, audio video. And here you'll have, on this side you have the RF and the AC here, and then right here you have audio video. I'm going to put that back. Nope, okay, I'm good. You just plug those in like that. You're good to go. That's a lot simpler in the long run, because on the TV there's also an audio video port. You just plug those into the matching ones, and then on the certain setting you have, it'll go straight to audio and video. Now, one thing to mention is that all these controllers are also wired. There are no wireless controllers, and if there are, I'm sure they are not very good. I wouldn't recommend picking one up anyways, because these go just fine. They're quite long as cords. They're just going to go on the front of the system. Right there, it's pretty self-explanatory. 1 is first player, 2 is second player. I don't know why I went on that long of a tangent talking about all that. You know, most people, I think, have some sort of a clue about even how to put in the controllers. But I hope you did find that quite useful, and I hope, you know, it gives you a little bit of a taste back to what Nintendo was like back in the day and what video games were like back in the day. I'll definitely be uploading more on consoles, more on games. You know, I don't know if these will do super well or not. Of course, always great if they are, but I'm just happy to talk about things that I really enjoy, because I've gotten really into game collecting these last couple of years, even back when I was making those other videos. Now, my old videos are going to stay up, except for a few. I've looked through all my videos, found that a few, you know, just don't seem to have the same kind of jokes that are appropriate for a modern age. So I've took the liberty of removing those. But for the most part, almost all my videos are going to be up, and they're going to stay up. You know, I think it's important for this channel to have its background. I'm not just going to delete all my videos and say, oh, this is what I started from. No, this is a new experiment in 2020 when I have no time because I'm working. But I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, a like and a subscribe would be, of course, greatly appreciated. I'm sure you've heard that way too many times now. If you didn't like it, I would like to hear, you know, why. If it was boring, I completely understand. I'm still getting the hang of all this. But please do send me a comment with some constructive criticism on what I could do better, because I'm always looking to improve. And I think, you know, taking all those university courses on oral communication definitely helps, but it helps to know what my audience wants to. So once again, thank you very much, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Napadam na plan, tvoja san na kraju.